All right, so get rolling here. I don't know how everybody else feels, but when I woke up this morning and I looked outside, I was like, I could just take that this morning. Another day like this. That's the problem. It's been the last 4 days of rain. That's what I heard. Yeah, sun is warm by the end of the week. Right. Just writing things up in the word. Okay, let's do some, let's say laundry. Let's do some shopkeeping first. Believe it or not, we're not too far in the end of this study. We're now in the 16 to 1800s. We'll be talking about that today. Next week, we are going to quickly do, I don't think quickly because we're going to rush through it, but the basically 17 to 15 somewhere in is going to go by pretty fast. And then we're going to get into the interesting stuff, which is Judaism in modern era, which, this isn't really a spoiler to anybody, but essentially Judaism during the Great Wars and then modern Judaism. And that's not going to take us a ton of time, because we'll essentially spend 1 week on Judaism during the Great Wars and then Judaism after the Great Wars. And kind of the pivotal moment as like 1947, 1948, right, for making the state of Israel. Which we can talk about. So I'm not necessarily hard to have on saying we need to be done in 4 weeks. I'm just kind of saying the end of time. The end of time. So one question I was hoping about there, which I always do, is what do you want to talk about next? And here's my not really a caveat, but here's my thing. I don't want to do another history thing. Not because I'm sick of history, but I need one that's not quite crap. This is, I ended up spending almost a quarter of my week on these lessons. Just a lot of reading, that's all it is. And I might have picked a better book. It's a good book, but it goes so in depth that I ended up reading about 100 pages every week just to prep for. That's the History of Judaism by Mark Goldman, or Goodman, Mark Goodman, yeah. It's a fantastic book, and if you want more information than you're getting here, I highly recommend reading it. Holy cow, I have to, it's like panic for both sometimes. Not that it's garbage that you write, it's just, I know more about Kabbalah than I ever wanted to. It's not that there's anything wrong with Kabbalah, but holy cow. So, that's where we're at. Start thinking about it. I would love to do something biblical in nature. Something that, is facilitates conversation. That'd be great. So if there's a book by that we want to read, a genre of biblical literature, throw that forward to 6 weeks of plan. So, I'm going to just do a quick recap to bring this up to our time period. Because we last week about the town hall meeting. So the week before that, we were talking about the end of the Middle Ages, moving into, we're approaching now, we're approaching essentially the 12th to 17th century. So what are the things that happened during that time period? Or 18th century? What's that? Crusades. So we're watching the end of the Crusades and the effect that has on human movement as well, migration and emigration, which is going to affect a hugely issue Jewish populations in the world. What else? Inquisitions, yes, which all of this is what's fascinating about this topic as well, is how all of these things affect where Jewish people live. Well, we'll get it, but yeah, that's another one. What else? We're at the end of this time period. What do we watch now? Enlightenment. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about today, too, is the effect that the Enlightenment, kind of that pre-Enlightenment period, has on the nature of Judaism. Because, frankly, if we think about changes that not necessarily in the Jewish population itself, but in the fabric of Judaism, so in their in practices and how their communities are made up, how they worship, the major kind of like fundamental shifts happen, going way back. Temple Judaism, post-Temple Judaism, transition to rabbinic Judaism, and then the Enlightenment. And what happens is really fascinating because what we're going to watch is how Judaism begins to transform in parallel with Christianity, right? Which makes a lot of sense, right? Nothing lives in isolation. A lot of the same people that are, these are happening in the same place with the same people, but additionally, what's really interesting is how similar ideas manifest within Judaism and similar tensions as well too. So what's, from a Christian perspective, what happened between 1200 and 1800? Yeah, Protestant Reformation. And what's remarkable is how there are these parallel events that are occurring in the fabric of Judaism at the same time that are related but not necessarily directly related to. But this is something that, having read a fair amount of history, I have realized is that we need to look at history in terms of causality, right? So who did what to make the next happen? One of the things that I've discovered is so often these things just kind of manifest. Is that there are all these little shifts and changes in humanity and in our society that have been occurring. All it takes is a pebble, right? And then you watch the shift that's been kind of climbing for centuries even, that happens seemingly overnight. And that's very true of Reformation, but it's also true of some of the shifts that we're going to watch happen in Judaism.
How about the European exploration and colonization?
Oh my gosh.
I know the Jewish people were part of that.
So this is remarkable. So 1492, Columbus saved the ocean blue, and Spain ejected all the Jews. Same year. Yep.
And how about like transition, like transition?
Oh yeah. Well, this guy's French. And in fact, so one of the things that I talked about 2 weeks ago is kind of tracing where Jewish populations existed during different time periods. One of the statistics I put out there, which is very helpful, is we're talking about the two major European populations of Judaism, which are Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. Okay, that really, for all intents and purposes, as we're moving into the Enlightenment, those are the two populations that we're concerned with. Not that there aren't other populations, but they're minor relative to Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews. And those populations exist in Egypt, in modern-day Iran, in Palestine as well too. By and large, those that make up Judaism are living in Europe, Eastern Europe, especially during this time period. And that's also another shift of watch. Sorry, I'll fix it. It's fine. That's another shift of watch is the migration of Judaism between Eastern and Central Europe. And again, that would have a big impact on what happened in the 1930s and 1940s too. But yeah, so Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews. Right? Sephardic Jews are those that are Spanish-speaking or non-Spanish-speaking. So these are Jews that moved to Spain and the surrounding area during. Sorry, it was on there too.
Well, I couldn't see the board.
Oh, okay. During Muslim occupation, right? One of the things that we talk about is that, by and large, Muslim lands during the Middle Ages were some of the most hospitable places for Jews to live, because of their general policy, you pay taxes, you were well to live there, which is kind of it's a tough pill to swallow from an honor perspective, especially those of us that have experienced Islamophobia as a result of 9/11 and stuff like that. We Western folks see ourselves as the beacon of freedom and prosperity, and realistically speaking, Western Europe was never not from a modern perspective, but definitely during the Middle Ages, it was not at all, and not just intolerant to different people of different faiths, but intolerant to people that differed from their faith. I mean, you want to watch an interesting history, check out the different persecutions of minority Christianity cults in France. It's violent. It's very violent. Go visit the city of Tucson sometime. You'll get a picture of that. Western Europe and Judaism. So Orthodox Jews lived in Spain and surrounding areas. They didn't primarily move there during the some occupation, but as that leadership shifts over time, the number we remember for 1492 essentially is who are the two monarchs? Remember from your Western Europe? No. Isabella and Ferdinand. Yeah, so they issue a proclamation, essentially pronouncing the citizenship of any Jew and requiring them to move. And so they do move, and this is what's fascinating, is so Sephardic Judaism moves east, and they end up, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? We're talking about migration that happens over decades and centuries, but they end up moving east into Eastern Europe. But then they move south as well too, but at the same time. Italy especially. And so you get Italy, Greece, over into Turkey, some parts like Hungary and areas, and North Africa as well too. So Egypt, but even Western North Africa, you get pockets of Judaism over there. But what this does kind of it doesn't necessarily create a vacuum, but it means that Western Europe, in terms of the Jewish population, is primarily populated by Ashkenazic Jews. And so where the Ashkenazic Jews have been in Eastern Europe, like so Poland, especially Poland, Hungary, parts of Germany, France, our population is there. And then we're calculating time a little bit. So we've discovered the New World. 18th century, 1700s is when you actually get the first Jews that migrated to the North American continent, and where they settle New Amsterdam, which ended up becoming New York, because there were also large populations of Sephardic Jews in the Netherlands during that time as well too. So the first Jews that landing in the New World are actually Sephardic Jews. This is going to be an interesting thing, in 200 years. In our history study is because what happens then when you get Ashkenazi Jews leaving Western Europe, leading up to and okay, I wrote these names up on the board. Let's talk about some of these guys. So where are we at? We are in essentially the 1200s and onward. We talked about shifts in thinking that are during this time. And to kind of paint a picture here of Judaism, it's kind of like end of the Middle Ages leading into Renaissance, Enlightenment period, is the major argument, or the major conflict, if you will, that exists in Jewish law is the conflict between what comes to be sort of called halakhic / rational Judaism and mystical. You know what halakha? Halakha is law. Okay. So halakha is the following law that we probably mistakenly refer to now as kosher, right? But it's more deep than that. I mean, halakha describes essentially the primary drive of Judaism in the Middle Ages and onward. And it comes out of a book that we talk about way back, which is the Babylonian Talmud. Remember the Talmud? Yeah. So the Talmud is a collection of interpretations on Jewish law. Where do we get Jewish law? What are its origins? Moses. The Torah, right? So the laws of Moses are where the seeds, the foundation of Jewish law is. What the Talmud does is it puts down scales. I mean, that's sort of, it's maybe I think there's a better comparison for that. But it takes Jewish law and it attempts to interpret it to a changing world, right? Because the law of Moses exists during the migration of the Hebrew people out of Egypt into Canaan is adapted as that population transforms into a loose collection of tribes, and then into a unified nation, and then into a divided nation, right? The Talmud is taking that original law and bringing it forward in history, essentially asking the question of, again, how do we be Jews in a world with no temple, but in a world where we understand the following the law as an individual responsibility, right? As what I do, what my family does, what our community does, not necessarily the whole of the issues anymore, because that doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that people get it. And that's something that I would remind us of, that the concept of Israel and the hope for Israel never vanishes. And there's this really fascinating guy which we'll talk about named Sabatai Tzvi. There's this unique observation Judaism. This is my favorite story of everything that we've read. This guy is an absolute genius. We'll get to him in a little bit. So kind of the major tension is between halakhic and rational and mystical. Not that halakha is absolutely mystical Judaism, but it's more about an emphasis. And what halakhic or rational Judaism is doing, this is really fascinating because this is happening before Thomas Aquinas. Does everybody remember about Thomas Aquinas? What was Aquinas? What was his theology?
Making doctrines clear to people, teaching the church, making logical reasons behind all of the traditions of the church.
And who was Aquinas' dude? Who did he realize?
Well, like all kinds of Augustine, you see him.
Aristotle.
Yeah.
Aquinas is pulling a lot on the classics as well too, for the rational aspect of it, right? Aristotle, the whole structure. Yeah, so you're reading Augustine's book too, right? So I didn't mean to pull the. I'm thinking of a question, or I think an answer. Can you guess it? Well, the reason that this is important is because that's what this guy was reading. So there's this rabbi. This is one of the wonderful things about a lot of these characters that come up of the descent of the Middle Ages is how they come up with nicknames for them. So this guy, who historically is known as Rashi, his original name, or his name is actually Shlomo Yitzchaki, Yitzchaki. So the question is, how do you come up with Rashi as his nickname? Well, Yiddish, absolutely Yiddish. And who was the name that apparently, late Middle Ages, the Yiddish Jew, Ashkenaz Jews, and were acronyms. They love coming up with acronyms. And so where Rashi comes from is that he was fancifully expanded as the rabbi of Israel. He was so popular, he was the rabbi of Israel, which is Ram Shel Yisrael, or RSI, Rashi, right? So that's where he came from. And again, if you want an in-depth look at Rashi, Goldman's book, or Goodman's book, sorry, he does a real depth on this guy's thought process and his upbringing and what causes him to think the things that he does. So what we're going to be satisfied with today is that this guy was really interested in this stuff. He was interested in the similar thing that Aquinas was interested in, which is how do we make halakha accessible and rational to our changing Jewish world, right? And so he was famous, and this guy really, we're a little bit, he's 11th century, 1040s when Rashi's forever. And so what he does a lot, and what he's famous for, is being a scholar of Hebrew. So he goes through the Torah and the Tanakh, because the Tanakh is everything but the Torah. So the rest of the Old Testament. So he goes through the Torah and Tanakh, and he goes and looks at all of these Hebrew words that were unclear or vague, and comes up with a definition for them. How do you do that? That's a big question, but it's rational in his mind. But in doing so, what he's trying to get at is he's trying to make following the law easy, right? Easy and practical for your standard Jew living ever. Which line of art is extremely popular because suddenly a lot of these histories that are up here and held in the priestly educated classes are accessible to the common person. And so you can imagine how this would transform practice as well too. Are there comparable movements within perhaps Christianity, right? You could argue the way that the Protestant Reformation is about making religion more accessible to your common man in the 16th century, but you know, the common human being, absolutely. And in fact, I'll say this for the certain, but you know, in some, it's a good to bad. I'll just leave it at that, right? Making religion and faith more accessible is a good thing, and sometimes it's bad too, because it takes away the mystery and the unknowability of faith.
Well, again, to be fair, like you were thinking, well, mystery was everywhere.
Yeah.
So there did need to be some balance with reason.
It's a fact.
And also, I think, I just have to throw this in, the Lutheran rationality makes sense over the Jesuit rationality.
Oh, yeah.
They're very much counterposed to each other.
Well, Jesuit literally the counter-reformation movement.
Right, but I mean, the balance of that takes a lifetime to enjoy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I very much agree. So that's Rashi in a nutshell. Then we've got this great, you probably heard of this guy, Maimonides. Maimonides, thank you. Yeah. Maimonides. There's a Jewish school near me with the Maimonides Academy. Okay, so this guy also extremely popular with Jews. He is 150 years after Rashi. So this is the guy that's in the 12th century. He's the one that takes a lot of what Rashi's doing and then expands upon it. So Maimonides writes a book called the Mishnah. He writes Mishnah Torah. But he writes a lot of stuff. Maimonides is extremely prolific. In fact, insanely prolific. The amount of material that this guy managed to turn out in the Middle Ages is absolutely mind-blowing. He's the Elon Musk of the 12th century. And Maimonides has, and again, go read Goodman's book, check the Wikipedia article. He has a fascinating history as well too, because he's actually originally from Egypt or Iran, I can't remember. Somewhere in the Muslim world, and then he is, his family is exiled or something, so he spent a lot of time traveling around. And so not only is he prolific, he is prolific to travel as well too. He lives all over the place. But for the purposes of, go ahead, Paul.
He Baghdad and Dole.
Yep.
He relished talking with Muslim scholars who were great scholars of the time. And I mean, it's just incredible how more ecumenical those were back then
Than we are today. And he was born in he was born in Cordoba, Spain, is where he was born. I knew it was Muslim, but he was born in Cordoba.
But he knows Muslims and Jews.
Well, and here's something that is going to blow your minds, is that the primary language that these folks are working in is not Hebrew, it's Arabic. Okay, so Arabic becomes the language of Judaism, which the irony is so heavy here from a modern perspective. But yeah, Arabic. In fact, in some of the stuff that Maimonides writes, he writes it in Hebrew in Arabic script. Because people read Arabic, and so essentially he's transliterating Hebrew into Arabic, which is fascinating. Fascinating to think about. But Maimonides is similar to what Rashi is doing, trying to codify, trying to doctrinize Judaism in a way that hasn't been done up to this point, which you think about makes a lot of sense. I mean, because the population of Jews is so dispersed, there is no central, head of whatever, of anything, right? So how do Jewish thought and practice all evolve locally and independently of, wherever you're at? And so these are, it makes sense, considering the time period. These are guys that are moving into this modern world, trying to bring everybody together. Let's get to the same page. Let's make Judaism something that's accessible to everybody. Yeah. So these are two good names to remember. Okay, now let's talk about the other half of this equation, which is mystical Judaism. So has anybody heard of Kabbalah? Madonna was in Kabbalah. That was my first exposure to Kabbalah. And again, that kind of betrays my age and the time period that I was raised in. But I remember her being in the news a lot because people were making fun of her because she's not Jewish. Right? But she was, as lots of celebrities do, became enamored with Eastern mysticism. She wanted to pick a brain that nobody else had done yet. I'm giving a little bit here too. So she gets into Kabbalah. Kabbalah is, okay, and it goes way, way back, even early Middle Ages, okay? And it's got a complicated history. It's got a complicated history because its origins are really suspect. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. The Zohar. Who's ever heard of the Zohar? I don't know if that's a Zohar. Yeah. No. So the Zohar is the foundational book of Kabbalah. And it is written in, oh my gosh, I'm scared. It is written in 1240, somewhere between 1240 and 1305 CE. And again, I want to make sure that we are a little bit clearer. The Zohar is not the origin of Kabbalah, but it is the mystical equivalent of what Rashi and Maimonides are doing, which is trying to turn this mystical miasma into something a little bit more concrete. So there's this guy named Moses Leon. A real Jewish sounding who writes the Zohar. Excuse me. But he's not claiming that he wrote it. He's claiming that he discovered. This is a common thing amongst religions and stuff in general. But he's actually claiming that he found a text from the first century rabbi. I can't remember the guy's name in the moment. But the text of the first century rabbi who, again, first century rabbi, so we're talking during the end of the temple era, who had heard these things about God. So Moses Leon in the 13th century is right, had discovered this text of a rabbi in the first century, and these are the words of the Zohar, which becomes the foundation book for Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? Well, it's tough. It's tough to articulate. Because Kabbalah is a mystical tradition, but in a lot of ways, Kabbalah is focused on stuff that we would refer to as magic, right? Almost from the perspective of wizards and sorcerers. And it has to do with knowing the mystical names of God. If you know the names of God, it gives you power over the universe. Would you know the Hebrew Bible perspective? It kind of makes sense, right? Because what happens when Moses, asks to see God? God says, "Go hide in this rock and I'll pass by." What happens when Moses asks God's name? Well, I am who I am. I will be who I will be. There's this evasion. Names had power in the ancient world, and what Moses is doing is he is taking that and forming it into his tradition. And again, he claims that he found a document. What's ironic is that his widow, in a seemingly private conversation, told a friend of Moses that no, he made it all up. He just attributed it to this other rabbi to give it credit. So that he could sell copies of it. Okay, whatever its origins, Kabbalah becomes extremely popular during the same time period. So much so that there ends up being a lot of conflict between the rational components of Judaism and the mystical aspects of Judaism. And this is why this is really important. Is that so? The Kabbalah. The Zohar is the kind of starts it off, so to speak. But about 300 years later, another guy named Isaac Lutheran, he takes the roots of Kabbalah, including the Zohar, and recreates it. And recreates it into a form that eventually becomes accessible and starts to kind of like merge into this world and is referred to as Lurianic Kabbalah, which comes from this thing. Again, we're not going to get into the weeds on this. I'm just putting it out there if you want to research more of it. But he does a really fascinating thing, which is similar to what these guys are doing, which is he further takes this thing that's very vague and mystical and gives it rules, right? He gives it rules, gives it processes, gives it doctrine almost. And so he turns the mystical practice into something that you can harness for every day. Here's also why this is important. How many of you have heard of this? Hasidism, Hasidic Jews. Hasidic Jews are the beneficiaries of Lurianic Kabbalah. Okay? Fast forward about 200 years, and we'll get into this today, we'll talk about this next week, because there's a really strange guy. I mean, reading the business on it, absolutely fascinating, who inexplicably ends up starting this, what is now an extremely prolific Jewish subgroup, which is every time, by the way, every time you see in the news or somewhere, a man who is wearing lots of black with a funky looking hat on, that's a Hasidic Jew. Okay. Then there's some crossover there between Orthodoxy and Hasidism. There's a Venn diagram. But when you see the X, that's because they are representing their tzaddik is what they end up calling themselves, which tzaddik is righteousness. And so practitioners of Hasidism who essentially set themselves up as prophets, leaders, spokespersons within, they call themselves tzaddiks. And then people attach themselves to a tzaddik, and then he tells them how they should better practice mysticism, but also asceticism. So a lot of like denying the body and spending hours in prayer, and like one of the guys, the proponent of what he refers to as spontaneous shame prayer or something like this, which is what he would do is like he'd be talking to this guy, walking down the street, and he would inexplicably fall to his knees and start praying. And he would be there for hours. Like not just like, I'm gonna say a quick prayer, like I'm here, you can go get lunch and come back, and we'll talk later. And his whole thing was this is how he was purifying himself. A lot of ascetic practices, like I felt moments of shame or weakness, and I felt the need. So anyways, we'll talk about this more in depth next week, because this week is an entire class. Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about sabotage next week. Like I said, this guy, he is my favorite. Any questions? Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Well, my question is that through time, Jews have not spent a lot of time shaming each other.
No.
They're just, that's good. I can learn from you, I'll listen to you, and they're certainly not going to go to war, right?
Nope.
You know, there's no Protestant Catholic thing there at all. And we just could learn so much from it.
Well, and here's one of the fascinating things about Judaism is because one of the things that Judaism realized is that when they fought amongst each other, they got punished for it externally. So if there was any discord such that it bothered the rest of the Christian population or whatever, they would be expelled. Right? So quick sidebar here. Does anybody know the origin of the word ghetto? Does anybody know where this word, which country this word comes from? Not Poland. It comes from Italy. So Sephardic Jews who moved to Italy had varying success in being welcomed into that place. When they initially migrated from Spain to Italy, by and large, the Pope at that time was open arms. He got on in. This is okay. As it happens with the Hebrews in their time in Egypt, so does as leadership changes within the Middle East, specifically the papacy. Their general law changes. And I don't remember what it was. The Pope passes, well, he doesn't pass a law. He issues a declaration that if you are a Jew living in Italy, specifically in Rome, you basically are subject to a permanent curfew, which means past a certain time of the night, you can't leave where you live. Right? So you are restricted to whichever section of the city you live in. You can eat during the day, but after it gets hot, you can't leave. And the name of that first neighborhood was the neighborhood of Ghetto. And again, somewhere, I think it was called, but. And so that model ends up being used frequently throughout Italy, and then later ghetto can be referred to where Jews inhabit, whether or not those same laws. Which again, from a modern perspective, ghetto does not carry a positive connotation, right? This is a tragedy of the human experience. We use ghetto to refer to places of minorities, right? And there are places of what? Crime and poverty. Which, again, irony just does not convey justice enough. Were the Jews that were living in these neighborhoods necessarily impoverished? They were not. They were not by and large, but because they were minority, foreign, and Jewish, right? It's kind of like how you see it determines what it becomes. And then imagine living in an area where you're not allowed to leave where you live. Some of the side consequences of it, though, are is community cohesion is absolutely insane, right? Is that what you end up having is you get these extremely tight-knit family groups that exist in the ghettos, and again, because this ties back to, you're not going to fight amongst ourselves, because if we fight amongst ourselves, we're making ourselves vulnerable to everybody else, right? That's really important to understand. Go, yeah.
I'm often used, the early church, the pathway to the Spirit of God was like art, stained glass, the size of the cathedral, it was all Latin, I assume. So the word was not the channel that was being, more of a mystical. And of course, Luther, the word, the thing in English, and no longer Latin, there's no other rational. Is there a connection within the rational mystic or early church?
Well, I mean,
most art is sort of non-rational. A lot of music is sort of non-rational. Architecture is sort of the space presence.
This is a big topic. And this was 3 years ago we did study Christians. And here's the reality, is that most of the mystics that we study are Catholic, right? Not a ton of Lutheran mystics come out of any of our traditions. And there's kind of a good reason for that, which is Luther's Reformation and Zwingli, Calvin, the guys that came after, was very much rational Reformation, right? It was trying to make something that had become so big and unapproachable, making it accessible and reasonable to your common human being. So there's not a lot of space within that for the irrational or the mystic, right? And I can't speak real confidently about the Counter-Reformation movement, because like you look at like Jesuits, you look at St. Ignatius of Loyola, and he very much goes a semi-mystical route, like the spiritual exercises of St. Loyola, I think, like meditate upon the blood of Jesus for 45 minutes, similar to what we're talking about with Hasidic. But at the same time, it's very systematized, right? I mean, he's not system all. I mean, Loyola was a soldier, right? So we will be system. We will meditate on Jesus' suffering. I'm hamming it up a little bit there, but so to answer your question, Protestantism doesn't have a lot of space for mysticism, especially in its origins. And I wouldn't necessarily say that Protestant is anti-mystical, but it's just, there's that difference.
You still have the rituals, which are sort of mystical, fancy thing.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking of the Masonic clause.
Yeah.
Is I think, a bunch of frustrated Protestants who have an virtual.
Yeah.
This is an
Yeah.
so they park it there. But humans are both, and our society tend to one or the other depending upon need. But my reflection keeps coming back. I just keep going back to Revelation time. It is the time when the rational world is weakening. Like
Yep.
is blossoming.
It's bigger than Protestantism.
Yeah, the Renaissance is a more complete time in terms of the balance between free thought and then sense. And of course, Germans have famously spawned, Renaissance and the Mennonite tradition of being very simple. I like Quaker shares and things like that. So it's not that it doesn't exist, that some physical forms of faith, but they're pretty suspect of any kind of images and icons and the like, right? So, um, as Bruce used candles and things like that, it just slowly changes over time back and forth. It's not as pure as we like it or need. It's a messy thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's very complex, very messy. And you know, you look at Islamic art. You never have people in it. It's always geometric shapes.
Oh.
Beautiful stuff. But I think it's important for us because I don't think that humans will complete without art at all. Or even the non-musical traditions, forms of dance, forms of just any kind of artistic expression, right? And yet, that's been very warm. In America, I was thinking of all the statues cleared out of all the French Canadian cities. There are warehouses full of saints in Montreal and Toronto that were just cleared out of all. There was this sort of backlash to all that. And so I could look at every group around, and people are just trying to find themselves. Because everybody's stumbled along the dark, and these, I saw the ones and okay, I mean, you haven't gone to hell yet, but
Yeah.
super important, 20th century, so I'm just thinking that in our minds, we so often go, I am this kind of a Christian, or something like that, instead of, wow, people are searching for the presence of the divine and share that with each other, and not just keep track together.
Yeah.
Although together is a safe place. We have a Lutheran get out right here in the room.
They do love that.
We have to behave.
Otherwise, it's the last time they did. So it's kind of a good point. Yeah.
So anyway, it's just such a very human story.
Yeah.
To just appreciate and enjoy rather than think of it too critical a sense.
And something that's remarkable too. You're asking that question of what about this during Protestant time period? But like keep in mind, Paul highlighted this too. You like that period of human history is a really bad time to be a mystic, right? Between the Inquisition and then the French Revolution, it's a really rough time. I mean, last or 2 weeks ago, I was talking about Joan of Arc, and she's a mystic that gets caught in the gears of rationality, between politics. Yeah, but what's fascinating about her story too, which was set in the museum, is how much of her village was just like, oh, God spoke to you, yeah, absolutely, let's go talk to the king. highlighting that, you're coming to me, and they're like, yeah, totally. She was visited by Saint Clementia and the other saint that I can't remember at this point in time. Totally, let's give her a horse, send some dudes with her, and she's gonna go talk to the king. But, our rational minds struggle with that. But humans,
One of the things that comes to me when we talk about together was that it wasn't just that they couldn't go out after, dark or something like that, but the rules that they had to do were very different.
Yeah.
They went out on farms, they got out to all sorts of things. And so within that group, they started looking together. And so that the creativity that came out of it, what had they done? They did finance, they did creative writing, and all sorts of things. But within that group, they encouraged those sorts of things.
We went, my niece just turned 9. She's 15. I'm telling everybody for a year she's 9. She's 8. Now she's 9. I should have done math. Yeah, but for her birthday, we went to the Alberta Rose Theater to see YouTube doing Ariel. You know what Ariel is? It's where they hang those big silk ribbons from a spinning thing, and people climb up them for 30 feet in the air, and wrap around their body, and they do contortions and stuff like that. So we watched it with the youth group, and Emmy's doing Ariel now, and it was awesome. And it's so funny because I was watching my sister-in-law, and Emmy just started doing Ariel. I think this is the last year she's doing Ariel. That's why Julianne's reaction to these 9-year-olds that are 30 feet from the ground with a pad little down. But literally one leg is wrapped in a silk cloth, and that's how it's amazing stuff.
Was it on the Echo there?
No, Alberta Rose, Alberta Street, yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it's very, I would love to try to explain this to my friend back then. My niece is old, and right, she plays softball, she's in the airplane. There was like one other tangent related to this, talking about art, Jewish art, and the transformation of it. Because again, for a large portion of Judaism, they were living in primarily Muslim lands, meaning that their art is very, it doesn't include figures, it doesn't include figures, it models the culture that they're in. One of the remarkable things that happens later on, we'll get into next week's stuff, the Jews start to move into British Isles, and they move to the British Isles, and then they go to the New World, and then they go to New Amsterdam, New York. But what happens to the art of the buildings, their art changes, and it starts including pictures that you can have of the prophets. So you watch their art as the culture changes. Okay, let's talk about this guy real quick. This is important and funny. This is also going to be a good segment next week. So this guy is way bigger than us. The war that is 7th century, so 1600. I'm going to give you a slapdash version of history again. If you want to read more, Wikipedia or good book are great. This guy is awesome. And I'm saying that sarcastically and a little bit. Samuel says that he is born early 1600s, 1600s, something like this. And he's born to very like dad, like a poultry dealer or something like that. Very not needle, but normal world he's born into, normal family. For whatever reason, he is wired differently. And sometime in his 20s, he decides that he's a Messiah. He has 2 failed marriages, and there's, I'm kind of reading the line between the lines there. He probably was gay. I'm just gonna make that claim. I think the guy is gay because the way it's recorded is that he was married twice, but the marriage was never consummated, whatever that's worth. He gets married later, but it's a different circumstance. So he decided to Messiah. And he's pretty open about it. He starts telling everybody he's Messiah. He manages to run up a revenue, and he travels across the Mediterranean, essentially, visiting these various places. And by and large, if that's all that happened, that would be the end of his story, right? He was kind of a carnival attraction in a lot of ways. Until he traveled to Palestine. And there's a guy in Palestine whose name is Nathan of Gaza. So he's living, where he's living. Nathan of Gaza, similar to Nathan, the prophet who was paired with David, who is the messianic, model for Judaism. And that was his name. They didn't make up his name. His name is Nathan of Gaza. and he was an extremely well-respected rabbi in Palestine. Like so well-respected that his name was known beyond Palestine and in kind of the Jewish cosmos in general. And Sabbatai travels to Gaza, meets with this guy, and for whatever reason, Nathan decides he's the real deal. And there's this really strange thing where Nathan goes out on this bridge, and this is the story. He goes out to this bridge, and he's praying on this bridge, and here comes Sabbatai with his retinue coming across this bridge. And Nathan goes back to what? The Zohar, because I think this is the 17th century, right? So the Kabbalic tradition is already in effect. Goes back to the Zohar, and it's this obscure passage that declares that the Messiah will meet him, will meet on the bridge. He brings into this experience, decides that Sabbatai has a deal. So he gathers all of the rabbis in Gaza and Palestine for a meeting, and there's this event where they're meeting, and they're just chit-chatting, having their tea or whatever, and he collapses. Maybe collapses on the floor, and supposedly people come up and check his pulse, and he's dead. Okay, and he's laying there, they're going about trying to decide what they're supposed to do. The host is tipped over, and all of a sudden this voice emanates from his dead body, proclaiming Sabbatai to be the Messiah, and goes on for hours, and converts everyone in the room. Everybody in the room is convinced that this guy is the real deal, because Nathan, eventually Nathan revives and goes back about his business. This travels the entire world. This rocks Judaism to its core worldwide for about 10 years. And the amount of craziness that ensues, I can't even describe. Read the book. You have people literally selling their properties to move to Palestine because Sabbatai has proposed that in the year 1666, that is going to be the resurrection of the dead. And so they want to be in Israel when this happens. So you've got the Western European Jews selling their homes, packing up their families, traveling to Palestine to await the whatever, the end of the world. Shocker. This does not happen. This does not happen in 1666. So Sabbatai, in the wake of his prediction not happening, decides he needs to go plan D, right? And so he packs his retinue, leaves Palestine, goes to Istanbul. And he gets in Istanbul, and now he's talking about a different aspect, or a different passage of the Zohar, that the Messiah will convert the Muslim. I'm paraphrasing here. So he goes to the Sultan, and everybody, and this isn't like people get to this point, because everybody's convinced the Sultan is just going to be dead, right? And so he goes to the Sultan's chamber. They shut the doors, everybody's waiting outside that has his corpse brought out. And they come out, and Sabbatai proclaims that he has now converted to Islam, and he is in fact the Messiah, and that the future of Judaism is now in being part of Islam. And the Sultan is by the shoulder, like, yep, that's exactly what it is. And that's just the beginning of the end. Okay? Because over the next 20 years of his life, he goes back and forth, he deconverts from Islam back to Judaism, he reconverts to Islam, he gets married again, but is not really a wife, because he actually has a wedding ceremony where he gets married to the Torah at one point in time. It is absolutely fascinating. But this is why it's important, this is why, it's a good way into what we get into next week. This rattles the Jewish world so much that the next couple of hundred years of Judaism are shaped in the wake of these events and what that means, which is why Kabbalah and Hasidism eventually becomes the main consideration. So there's your.
You have all those Eastern European rabbis, Shem and
Yeah.
All of those guys are super fascinating. Trying to keep people.
And he's not the last one to declare himself as Messiah. There are many Messianic figures that come out, which I mean, it can't be a coincidence this way. None of the Messianic figures come out in Christianity, 19th century, right? But spoiler alert, we'll talk about that next week. Okay, thanks folks.